Okay, we're back at it again. Okay, holla at your friend. Okay, I just literally made that up. I don't know why. Let's get into this. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to MediSyn. MediSyn is a podcast. The MediSyn podcast is a sincere dose of my reality that I hope can aid in the healing of another. So the purpose of this podcast, for those of you who don't know, is to provide a window into my personal growth and healing journey. And I hope that it can positively impact somebody else who feels like they're alone, who questions their thoughts, or who questions their own path. So this podcast has been a heaping dose of transparency, and it's just been a moment of reflection for me. I hope each episode has been helpful for you, and I hope that this one is helpful as well. So I just want to do a quick update before we get into the episode for today, which is going to be seasonal depression or the seasonal affective disorder. I'm going to go ahead and just give you guys an update on some things from the last few episodes. Okay. So number one, I'm still single. I'm not looking to mingle. I mean that. But I will say that I am still in love with my ex. I've been crying a lot less. I am going through the process. Every day is a journey. We talk about it a lot. Healing is not linear. There are some good days. There are going to be some more trying days. I'm being very intentional about everything. I'm trying to make sure that I'm talking to y'all, make sure that I am staying focused on the things that are important to me, trying to make some personal and professional changes as well. So that's some big stuff going on. I'm still celebrating single. I'm still dancing around the house when I get my clean on. I am enjoying learning to cook new things for Noah. I will say that my air fryer game is on point. I fry some pork chops. I know some of y'all don't eat pork, and I'm going to just say I do. Noah does. And wow, let me just tell you, those pork chops were on point. 10 out of 10. Give myself a pat on the back. Shout out to my best friend Kaya, who stayed on FaceTime with me the whole time to tell me when my grease was hot enough and all of that good stuff. We'll get into an episode in the future about what about your friends. Certainly, y'all will find out more about my best friends, Kaya and Melissa, and all the great things about them. But I'm also revisiting my roles and responsibility pie chart. So for those of y'all who have listened to the earliest episodes, the role and responsibility pie chart is something that I learned about from my therapist. It was incredibly important and valuable to me at that time. I've had some changes in my life. Obviously, I no longer have a girlfriend. Got some other things that I'm kind of working through and trying to put into play. So I need to revisit that. And I shout this out as a time for y'all to think about it too. If there's something that y'all need to revisit in that role and responsibility pie chart, it's always okay to go back, change it up a little here and there. Now might be a good time to do that. And like I said, I'm trying to make some other major changes, but I'll let y'all know a little bit more about that stuff as it manifests. I'll just ask that you keep me in your prayers. I want to let y'all know that y'all are always in mine. So hopefully I'm in yours as well. All right. So today we're going to be talking about, like I said earlier, seasonal depression. Okay. And I know that this is something that a lot of people deal with. It's something that I learned about pretty early on. I dealt with depression. I've been dealing with depression since I was probably in middle school, but certainly high school. And seasonal depression is something I learned about pretty early in my 20s, probably my late teens. I can't take for granted that everyone knows about it though. So I'm going to go over some basics here on today's episode, and hopefully it'll be helpful. If this is something that kind of hits close to home for you and you feel like you're learning that maybe some of this sounds familiar to you, it might be time to check in with a mental health professional, a psychologist, psychotherapist, something of that nature. So first things first, winter is coming. Today, I got off work at 8 p.m. It was so dark outside. Like, I am the type of person who loves the sun. I love sunlight. I love daylight. I've identified and learned that I'm actually a morning person. I love the sun on my skin, and just it feels like a kiss from God when I lift my head to the sky and I could feel the sunlight on my face. So when we have these shorter days and less sunlight and less time with the sun, and I get off work, and even when my earlier shifts, I get off work and it's dark outside, that just hits me so hard. And I will say that I'm somebody who I believe suffers or deals with, I never really say suffer when it comes to depression, because I don't suffer. I battle, I win every single day, right? Even when I'm crying, I'm battling and I'm pushing through it. But this is something that I deal with, and I felt like this would be a good time to put out this episode, because it's that time, it's coming, right? So we can talk about some silver linings. I like to find the silver linings on things. We'll talk about the silver linings of fall and winter. The silver linings, I love thigh-high boots on other people, right? Thigh-high boots are amazing. Scarves, comfortable scarf, nice little accessory to your outfit. I like that in the winter, it's a lot easier to get warm than it is to get cool when you're hot. In the summer, like, I don't like sweating. I hate sweating. I don't like the feeling of it. I don't like humidity and feeling, I know people hate this word, moist. I don't like feeling like sticky on my skin. So I do like, the winter weather. And I love the family holidays time. So, fall and winter brings us Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year, when we get to turn over a new leaf and let go of the old and bring in the new, and it just feels like a good time for those rituals. But I'm not gonna lie, I got some concerns, and my concerns are sad. Sad is another way that people refer to seasonal affective disorder. So I'll go over really quick some things about seasonal affective disorder. For anybody who doesn't know, it's usually something that begins, a lot of people begin dealing with it in their 20s and 30s. It does impact and affect children as well. However, it's something that is connected and tied to major depressive disorder. So, people with seasonal affective disorder really do often have the same signs and have similar signs and symptoms as other people with major depressive disorder. But it usually happens during certain months in the year. All right. So usually around fall and winter. And something that I didn't know is that there are also people who deal with seasonal affective disorder in the summer, which I'm like, wow, I never was familiar with that. And that actually affects about 10% of people who have the disorder. It's estimated that about 10 million Americans, or 3% of the population, deals with seasonal depression. And what's interesting is it's really kind of difficult to get diagnosed. You've got to have 2 or more consecutive years with this pattern. So it has to be a pattern of these symptoms. And you got to obviously be evaluated by a professional, and that leads to a diagnosis, which is interesting to me, because if it affects 10 million Americans that we know of, think about how many people don't speak up and say they need help. Think about how many people don't take the time to go to get evaluated. Think about how many people might deal with it 1 year and then they have a lapse that second year, so they don't go and see anybody, and then they never go see anybody again, but then they start to deal with it again and they just accept it as normal. Me personally, I just have kind of taken into account, like, I know that this is something I deal with. When I look at, and I'm about to go over the symptoms, when I look at these symptoms, it absolutely is something that I deal with. But I haven't really gotten a formal evaluation for it. I also want to say really quick, before I get too far into this, I think it's important that I state, like, I am not a mental health professional. Remember, the MediSyn podcast is my window into my growth and healing journey. A lot of things are my perspective, and I go down a rabbit hole with researching and finding information, but I am not the authority on any of this. I am not a qualified mental health professional. I will absolutely post resources on the website for where you can get help, how you can get help. And I think that it's important that you use those tools and resources if this stuff sounds familiar to you. So some of the symptoms of major depression, moving on from that, some of the symptoms of major depression that are familiar are feeling a sense of hopelessness, feeling low energy, agitated, sluggish, losing interest in activities that you once enjoyed, right? So those are things common, right, in major depression. Now, a person who has winter pattern seasonal depression, I'm going to just keep calling it seasonal depression, also may deal with, or also probably deals with, oversleeping, overeating, and social withdrawal. Some people consider it or call it like a hibernation. And that's so interesting. I read that in one of the articles and I was like, dang, that's exactly how I feel. I think I said something to somebody a few days ago where it's like, I feel like I'm about to go into hibernation. And it's not that like, I mean, I'll talk to people, but I really just want to be in the house. Once it gets dark, I don't want to go back outside. I don't want to go pump gas. I don't want to go get groceries. I don't want to go to the movies. I don't want to do anything in the darkness. I don't like it, right? So those are some things: that social withdrawal, overeating, oversleeping. Summer pattern, people who deal with summer pattern seasonal depression or seasonal affective disorder. About 10% of people with that, like I said, 10% of people who deal with seasonal depression deal with summer pattern. And that was interesting for me to read. And some of the symptoms that come along with that are insomnia in those spring and summer months, poor appetite that leads to weight loss, and restlessness and agitation. I thought that was really interesting because some of those things are actually the exact opposite of what you see in winter pattern seasonal depression. Always, I find something new out when I go to record these episodes. So like I said, it takes a formal diagnosis to make sure that, someone is diagnosed with this disorder. And people would have to meet these following criteria. They would have to have the symptoms of major depression, and the episodes would have to occur during specific seasons for at least 2 consecutive years, like I pointed out earlier. But it's possible that after someone is diagnosed, or even while someone is dealing with it before they're diagnosed, it may not happen every year. They can have years that it doesn't impact or affect you. And they have to be frequent, more frequent than other depressive episodes that happen throughout other times of the year, right? So, question, are you sad? Like, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm about to deal with this little sad season because I do most of the time. And I already feel it. Like I said, I was driving home today. I literally looked at my watch and it's 8:30 something. And I'm like, wow, it feels like 10 o'clock. I feel like I'm supposed to go get into bed. And I know that I wanted to record the podcast, but I really kind of didn't even want to do this. But that is the point of MediSyn. MediSyn literally is me doing all the things that are important and staying consistent, right? So here I am talking with y'all. But anyway, if you're sad, and just like, I get sad, and I suffer and I deal with and battle seasonal depression, there is treatment. So I'm going to go first with medication. A lot of people are not down and do not like medication. I personally am a proponent of medication if it helps and if the risks are lower. I'll say it the other way. If the benefits outweigh the risks, then I certainly think that, listen, if you got some chemical imbalances or you are really struggling, listen, you wouldn't walk with a broken leg. You're going to use some crutches. You're going to use a wheelchair. Even if it's temporary until you get back healed, that's what the medication is for. So I am a proponent of medication. That is one treatment. Cognitive behavioral therapy has been shown to have some promising results for treatment against the disorder. There's something called negative air ionization. I don't know what that is. That's some newfound stuff. Maybe I should look it up. Maybe it'll help. It sounds expensive to me. If you've done it, used it, know somebody who's used it, you know where I can get some. I don't even know what that is, but tell me some more about it. And then light box therapy. I think this is something I'm very familiar with. Again, I can't take for granted that everybody knows this stuff, but light box therapy is something that I've heard about before. And I did see something that said that there were some pretty promising studies. I saw some contradicting evidence. Like some articles said that it's not as helpful. Some articles I read, actually read one article from the National Institute of Medicine that seemed like it was saying that the light therapy actually was helpful, and that there were some studies that showed that it was really helpful, that for as many as 70% of patients. So that might be something, and I've thought about this in previous years. I've thought about getting a light box. I think I might actually really do that this year, because I mean, why not? And then I'll be able to report back to y'all and tell y'all if it worked. I am self-diagnosing and self-medicating in what I think might be healthy ways. But really, I know they talk about sitting in front of that light box for 30 minutes or more every day. And I think that I might try it out. You know, I don't think that this is something that's going to have a negative impact. So that's what I think I'm going to be getting into this year, or this sad season. So tell me a little bit about what y'all deal with. I know so many people. If I'm going to post up I'll post up some questionnaires, or I'll post up a survey. How many people are impacted by this? What are some things that you all do to get through the season? Is it just about challenging yourself and going out anyway? Or is it really something that you kind of just let happen? I think I've become a homebody over time, and I'd certainly turn into more of a homebody in this season. So like I said, I'm about to go into hibernation mode, but I'll be hibernating with my light box and my son and my pork chops. And yeah, this doesn't sound too healthy, but listen, it's all medicine I'm figuring out. So thank you guys for listening with me today. Talk to me, hit me, medicynpodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit me on Instagram at MediSyn Podcast or The MediSyn Podcast. You can hit me on Facebook. Find me, call me, beat me if you want to reach me. I'm going to put some information up on the podcast website. It'll also have some links to resources if you need to seek help from somebody who's super qualified. I'll put a couple resources up there, because like I always tell you guys, it's really not too crazy to reach out and ask for help. It's actually it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of strength. And if you feel like you need it, please go and get it. I want that for you. I'm praying for y'all. I'm sending y'all mad, hella crazy well wishes. And we're going to get through this season together, bit by bit, with a little bit of medicine. All right. Thank y'all for listening. I'll talk to you soon.